team, welcome back to Doing It at Home. I'm Sarah, and in today's video we are talking about what is the best room in the house to have your home birth, because the answer may not be as simple as you think. Once again, this is Doing It at Home, your space to feel confident, prepared, and excited for home birth. Make sure you hit subscribe, turn the notifications on so you are notified every time we drop a new video here. Make sure you listen to the podcast, follow us on social media, join our private Facebook group, buy the book, Doing It at Home, now available in paperback on Amazon. Check out the links to all of those things that I just mentioned below in the comments. So you're considering a home birth, or you're having a home birth, you're getting everything lined up, you're buying the gear, you're having the appointments with your midwife and your doula, you've assembled your birth team, you're envisioning, you've got your birth affirmations, and you're wondering, where do I actually give birth? Where is this gonna go down? Where will the main event take place? And it's a very valid question when you think about the birth experience and you're planning for it and being intentional about it. Where would you like to post up, so to speak, particularly if you're not moving around too much? Where do you really want the birthing space and place to be? Because it might not be so simple for everyone and just a no-brainer of the bedroom. That might be the case, but it might not. And so you might want to consider your options, which is great. We're all about considering your options here, obviously. One might say the answer to the question, where is the best room to give birth, that it's where you feel the most comfortable. Yes, absolutely. I would support that answer. And I would add that maybe there are some things to consider and think about when determining what space that is, because some rooms in your house might be more conducive to you giving birth than others. So I'm gonna give you a couple of questions, a couple of things to think about when considering the place to ultimately create your birthing space. And you'll notice where you might ultimately decide to set up the birthing space also depends on other factors as well, like who else will be present and other things like that. So one thing to think about is look inward and think about your personality. And where do you like to be, or what sort of setting do you prefer in your house, if you're envisioning your house, when going through a chronic, potentially long-term situation or process? You know, where do you kind of see yourself going through potential challenges, ebbs and flows, ups and downs? You know, considering yourself, are you a bit more of an open person and gregarious and you like people around you? Or do you kind of go inward and would you like your own space? If you've had a birth before, you can think about that. How were you in those birth experiences? Or just in other challenges that you've had in life, maybe when you've been going through a physical experience or a trying time or something that just required a lot of your attention and for you to be really present and focused. Think about that when considering and looking around your house and deciding where you ultimately want to set up shop. So think about your personality and your preferences. Another thing to think about is what pain management or sensation management, however you want to relate to that term, tools will you be using? And based on that, what room or rooms in the house would be better for that? Example, if you are planning on using a birth pool and you have a hose set up for that pool to fill it and to eventually refill it with warm water, depending on how long your labor is, you would ideally want to be close to a space where the hose can fit and hook up to a sink. So that's something to consider wherever you're setting up your birthing space. Maybe you need electrical outlets or just any other things that, based on the tools or the practices that you might want to be employing during your labor and birth experiences, what sort of space do you need for that? And just think about your house. Is that upstairs? Is that downstairs? Is that in your bedroom? Is that in one of the other bedrooms? Is it near a bathroom? Just things to consider. And I would consider too the layout of your house in terms of what space or spaces give you the most options for whatever you might want to do during your labor and birth. So if you do want access to water, if you want to be able to move about, if you would like space for other people, you know, all these things to kind of consider, I would pick the place or places, depending on how you move around or what's close together in your house, that gives you the most options should you want to do or want something in the middle of your labor and birth experience, and maybe you don't want to relocate in the house. And when you think you're pretty sure about where you want to set up the birthing space, I would add a piece of advice in there to be open to feedback. So sharing it with your care provider, sharing it with your midwife and your doula, whoever else is going to be present, to see what they have to say and to be open to that. And I'm speaking to that from experience because in our house, when we were planning for our home birth, I originally thought I wanted to birth in what is now our office space and actually where we record the podcast, which, spoiler alert, we didn't ultimately birth there. But now that I think about it, would have been pretty cool to like put all that energy into that room, and then that's the place where we record and do all of our doing it at homework. But anyway, maybe next time. So I thought I wanted what is now our office. It's this converted garage. So it used to be a garage, now is carpeted, all that jazz. And it's a large space. And at the time we weren't even using it for an office. Actually, it was kind of a multi-purpose living space. And I thought I wanted that room because it was one of the biggest, most open rooms in the house. And we were planning for a large birth team, which we ultimately did have. And you can hear all about that and read all about that in all the links below. But considering that, I thought I would want a lot of space for all of the bodies and to just have openness. And so I shared that with my midwife, and she heard me listen to, what I was thinking. And this being my first birth, not really knowing what to expect or how I am in birth, or what my personality is in birth, one piece of feedback that she offered is, you might think that you want this open space, but a lot of times, especially for a first-time birther, you might want to go inward and you might want to create your own little cave, and actually small spaces can be very conducive to a birth experience and a birth environment. More space doesn't necessarily mean better. And so that was a really great point and something that I took in. And we were also very keen on using a birth pool. And so that required a hose setup, and the closest sink to that office space is our kitchen sink, and that would not have hooked up with the hose that we needed for the birthing pool. And so that meant our bedroom, and our bedroom is a very small bedroom. And so I thought that would not be what I wanted, but ultimately it served really, really well. It kind of created this little cocoon, if you will. And there were still a large number of people, relatively speaking, in the room and around the room and into the hallway, but it worked. And so I really appreciated the feedback, and it helped me a lot because it made me realize that having more space didn't necessarily mean it would be better for the birth experience. What's better for the birth experience is what helps you to feel the most safe, secure, confident, comfortable. And it ultimately worked out for me to be in our bedroom and spend about 90% of the time in the birthing pool. And then I moved about 5 feet, maybe less, to a birthing stool to ultimately birth our daughter Maya. So I did not move around a whole lot, and that worked out really well, again, with that space. Whereas had I been in that office space after giving birth to eventually make it to the bedroom, I would have had to walk all the way across the other side of the house. And just with the birth experience that I had and how I was feeling initially after the birth, I really wouldn't have wanted to do that. So I'm really grateful that we gave birth in our bedroom. Quick recap for you. Think about yourself, think about your personality, your nuances, your quirks, and what you tend to prefer. Think about your pain management tools that you want to use and what spaces in your house will be conducive to that. And consider the layout of your house and what rooms give you what options. And then be open to the feedback. Of course, ultimately do what resonates most with you, but to at least be in a space of openness, especially from your care providers and people who are going to be supporting you in this space. It'll be helpful for them to know why you're choosing what you're choosing so that they can be on board and support you the best way possible. If you liked this video and it was helpful for you, please give us a thumbs up, give us a comment below. Also share your tips on what helped you to choose this space in your home where you ultimately gave birth or where you're planning to give birth, and why. Would love to hear your feedback and your experiences. Don't forget to subscribe, turn notifications on. We'll see you next time. Bye.